This is the Ambitious Creators Podcast with your host, Max Sinclair. Hello and welcome to the very first premiere episode of the Ambitious Creators Podcast. So this is something that I've started because I'm really obsessed with wanting to meet more people who are ambitious and also creative. I'm going to make sure I put it on all of the different podcast networks, which I'm going to learn about very soon. I'm going to put it on YouTube in particular, so there's going to be videos to every single one of these that you can watch for everybody we're interviewing. It'll start with video calls because Corona world, and I think it's going to be really exciting. I think I'm obviously new to this, and I do a lot of video calls, so I feel like this is what I've been training for my entire life. But I thought a really nice starting point could be, in a very weird roundabout way, that I interview myself. So I'm going to give myself hard, divisive questions to try and challenge my thinking and also just help to introduce me to everybody listening, which is obviously key. So I'll begin. So I'm going to do even a slight turn from left to right to help myself interview. Hello, Max. Nice to meet you finally. Such a great guy you are. Really excited for this talk. It'd be great if you could just introduce yourself to the listeners to start with. Happily. So my background, I started in sales and marketing. That's always been my background. I'm a UK citizen. I've always been living in the UK. Had a brief period in Berlin, but otherwise largely been UK based. I moved into travel quite early on, got very good at sales. I'm a particularly talented salesperson in terms of just naturally, I think I'm quite good at that. And then went into the travel industry in particular, so sales within travel, and quite quickly realized I wanted to do more with my life. So I moved into the startup world. So I basically built out Eco Companion was my first startup. And then since then, that business is now closed down, and I'm focused on Snowball Creations. So yeah, it's 3 years now I've been running Snowball Creations. Okay, and describe, the period, you mentioned you started your own business about 5 years ago back. So describe that, like, why did you even do that? Like, I know a lot of people say it's one of the most psychotic things that you can possibly do is start a business. I'll happily explain, Max. So I started the business, I think, well, to go further back, as a child, I was like 8 years old. My dad passed away. I had this big moment. And so that, I think, whenever people have these kind of dramatic moments in their childhood, it really creates these kind of underlying serious kind of drivers in different ways from that pain. And one of them for me was it was an ambition is built into me for sure. And that ambition has been instilled into trying to understand the biggest questions to ask and also the answers from those questions. So like the meaning of life stuff. So that's what drives me. But for the first half of my life, I basically avoided those questions. I avoided them by drinking and smoking and all these things to just basically to ignore all of those emotions and focus on the short-term pleasure and joy of life, which can work very well for some people. And then at 25, I basically had this pivotal moment where I had a girl reject me, and it was like a tipping point of just like had enough of this unfulfilling lifestyle that I was living, and I made a big change. So that's when I started Eco Companion and quit my day job and went all in on Eco Companion for 5 whole years, and finally just realized actually that it wasn't the right mission for me and it wasn't the right purpose in my life. And so I've since ended that. Very, very hard thing to do. One of the hardest decisions I've ever made in my entire life. Definitely still get emotional about it, thinking about the business. And ever since then now I've been focusing on Snowball Creations, which is more in line with my kind of core why, I think. And what is your core why exactly, Max? So it's that Elon Musk says it really, really well. He says it's not knowing the answers to these questions. So the goal is to just try and expand and move humanity forward, expand human consciousness as best as we possibly can. And that's what's going to allow us to figure out what are the right questions in the first place, and then what's the potential answers to those questions. So it's the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's one of the best attempts at trying to explain that, the answer of life. Is it 42, I think? Yes, I believe it is. And so I think that's what my drive is. And so for me personally, Snowball Creations, this new business that it's not that new anymore, it's 2 or 3 years old, is a business that's, we've rebranded though, is why I say it's new, is something that is most in line with that why, in terms of using sales and marketing is what I'm especially good at personally, and just entrepreneurship itself, to help entrepreneurs and help small businesses to accelerate their growth. So that snowball effect that we'll create for them, and then that will drive them to just grow 10 times faster. And through that kind of increasing the rate of growth for small business, people know this already, and it's pretty accepted that small business and entrepreneurship is one of the biggest drivers for change in any economy, because it's the biggest, most creative part realistically of business. And so if we as a business can make the entirety of the global startup culture to grow 10 times faster or have less failure and succeed more, then that will make humanity move forward that bit faster. So I think that's what I'm excited at right now anyway. Yeah. Describe the period when you first made that jump from, you said that you left your travel career and started your business. Describe that period when you first quit. So I think it's the first, I had 2 founders at the time. It was me and 2 other founders, and we quit the business. We were running this startup, Eco Companion, at the same time as me working at Travel Zoo at the time. And it was one of those scenarios where it seemed like everything was going in the right direction with the business. Everything was going well. We had a developer charging forward with the website. We had a friend of mine running it as well with me. I was doing all the sales. And then I quit my job, go full-time on it. And within like a week or days, practically, I'd made the decision. Both of the other 2 founders quit. So they both, for different reasons. The developer decided that he didn't feel like we were pulling our weight enough, and the other guy had another business he was running, so he didn't have time to focus on it. So within no time at all, I'd quit my safety net of a very well-paid sales job and went to 0 income, having to pay rent for myself on my own with Eco Companion as my business. So that was an unbelievably tumultuous time, and I didn't realize it at the time. It's one of those things I think you learn that in the moment you don't notice these things as much. You're not as aware, but I had gone out to more like parties over those first couple of weeks of quitting my job and being full-time sat at home, because you just basically leave your full-time job. You're just sat in the morning, you wake up and you're like, okay, it's Monday. What the fuck? Because your entire safety net is dead. Everything is gone. You're left there naked to the world, basically, that anything you need to do, you have to do it yourself. You don't have an IT team. You don't have a marketing team. You don't have all of this other stuff. So I suddenly had to learn like 100 different new skill sets, and any success I created was entirely built off of me and dependent on my success. So that was hugely daunting, and I think I had a big meltdowns around that, practically trying to deal with it. But I did, and I moved forward. So yeah, it's start leaving your full-time job to start your own business is an extremely scary thing to do, even if you don't. A lot of guys especially won't admit it. We won't admit to ourselves that we're scared, but it definitely is. What are some of the biggest challenges you faced in those early days? I think the lack of having any stability at all or any kind of thing. Money is a huge one. So I spent about 4 months working from London on the business. But then I basically had a huge breakdown moment. I literally called my mum in tears saying, I have reached this new low. I have no money and I'm screwed basically. So I had to cancel my contract with my flat. I had to move back to Letchworth and moved into my stepdad's spare room. Very kindly, they gave me a spare room and everything. And I got a job at Domino's again. I had a teenage job at Domino's. I went back there at the age of 25, 26, and started delivering pizzas on Friday and Saturday nights. So the challenge is getting any kind of starting energy as in you have nothing when you start. No one is interested in you. You have nothing that exists. You have no value at all when you first create your first business. And at the time as well, we had the wrong business model. We were focusing on trying to be this mega aggregator, which was just the wrong thing to do at the very start. So I had the wrong business model, and I was trying to do it on my own and working Domino's delivery pizza shifts. So I was working every hour of every day. Friday and Saturday, I'd then go off in the evenings to do Domino's shifts to get my £400 to pay for my food each month. Luckily, I didn't have to pay for rent because I was in the spare room of my stepdad's. And so those are the main challenges, just money and the business being in the wrong place, which is very often the case, I think, from a lot of startups. Yeah. And growth hacking. You know a lot about growth hacking. This has been your career for the last few years. In Snowball Creations does a lot of growth hacking. So what even is that? And how do I do it? So growth hacking is powerful stuff. It's trying to use growth hacking is marketing. Growth hacking is taking it, in my eyes, it's taking advantage of large networks that exist outside of yours that you can somehow hijack to pull attention out of those towards you. So it's trying to find attention within large networks outside of yours and pull them into your business or you as a person. So, for example, when I started Eco Companion, this is how I got investment. I got very good. I did a digital marketing course with a guy called Vin Clancy at General. He was Vincent Dignan back then, but he's now Vin Clancy, who's like a growth hacking guru and a very nice guy. He helped me with a digital marketing course I did at General Assembly, and I learned how to growth hack Twitter, and I took it, I scaled the hell out of it. That's one thing I'm very good at, is executing and scaling. And I took that growth hacking technique and I scaled the hell out of it. So I got like about 10,000 sessions per month to the website for this Eco Companion tour operator business for a cost of like £30 a month, like a couple of apps I had to pay for, and a bit of work each day to manage it. But otherwise, getting a huge amount of traction, and I was continuing to scale that, and I was getting a lot of inquiries to the business, and it was generally had a lot of very good reasons to think that we were doing well for ourselves. And so with that, I managed to gain investment. So we raised £167,000 towards the Eco Companion business model. So we found real success from it. So that was the start. And the way I did that was basically, at the time, you could tweet up to 250 tweets a day to people who you weren't yet following, and they would receive a notification on that. So you could send them a tweet saying, hey, and you can target this really nicely. So people who have got nature lover in their bio, or vegan in their bio, or wildlife enthusiast in their bio. And then you tweet them saying, hey, I noticed that you're interested in wildlife or in the natural world. I thought you might be interested in this article we just posted, which is and we did it with 8 of the cutest African baby animals. So it was this blog post that was just basically absolutely adorable images of the cutest animals from Africa. And obviously it was extremely popular. And it was just the nicest way to introduce yourself as a company ever. So it did really, really well. Like I say, 10,000 people to the website every month. And that did convert too. People always say like, oh, it's probably just rubbish traffic. But it wasn't. We built a mailing list very quickly. We got lots of inquiries for trips that we then sent on to our clients. So it worked very, very well and good quality. We in the end had the wrong business model. So in the long term, it didn't work out. And Twitter then adjusted. So that particular growth hack, stopped working. And then, since then I've gone into Instagram, and it has scaled basically for a very long time. You could use commenting and liking and following, etc. within Instagram, and it worked extremely well. Like you could grow, we got very good at it basically. You could grow an account like 4,000 to 6,000 followers a month, like exceptionally quick. Like it did really, really well for us and for all of our clients. So we got up to like 170 clients or something like that. At one time, we were making really good revenue with it. So since then, we do lots of other things with growth hacking in so many different formats. LinkedIn lead generation, we growth hack, and that is extremely effective. So if you need B2B leads, for example, and then we use it in other forms like engagement pods and stuff like that right now. And then TikTok is the new big one. So if you're interested in TikTok, that's really exciting that we're starting to develop a lot of stuff around that now. And there's a lot more space for growth now because it's a new network. Yeah, and so what do you think some of the big opportunities coming up for growth hacking? So I just talked about that. So yeah, TikTok, it's a new network. They're a lot more open and relaxed about letting people reach out, and they want their network to grow. And organic is basically there's a lot more attention on organic still there. So you can get more attention without paying and doing paid ads is the short of it. Yeah. Finding your own inspiration. Who are some of the idols you look up to? So idols I look up to, Elon Musk, number one, front and foremost. He is an inspiration in every way. Neuralink, SpaceX, Tesla. It's laughable how spectacular his career has been. PayPal, people forget. Zip2, I think it was, or Zipcard before that. And it's what I aim to replicate in my own version of that, is to have that much of an impact and move humanity forward at such an extreme way and solve such huge problems for humanity. It's a dream to ever achieve something like that. And Steve Jobs was very controversial, but I take a lot from him still. I think I've got the commander profile, if anyone's ever done that FGA, the 16 personalities test thing, NJ. I'm the commander, which is the same as Steve Jobs. I think I have a lot of the similar personality traits as him. I like to think I've got more empathy than he does, but and maybe I'm less of a dick than he was, although maybe I'll be less successful for the same reason. Yeah. What inspires you in the day-to-day week? I think one inspiration is just the team. I want to do well for my team. Like that sounds like a really arseholey thing to say, to be honest, because founders always say it, but it's really true. Like you get to a point where I want to do well so that the team all gets to like thrive and succeed. Like it's much more fun running a company when it's growing and succeeding, so that you can give other people opportunities and see them grow with you. That is, as much as anything, the thing that motivates me. And I think the big thing is I just feel it in me. It's this like obsessive drive that I want to just fucking scale. Like I want to grow. Like right now, being stuck here in Letchworth, I want to go and move to new places. I want to potentially go to San Francisco or at least back into London, because I need to be around new things and new places and learn and grow. And being in this place that I've been in a lot of my life is not right for it. So hopefully as COVID adjusts and things, I'll be able to change that. Yeah. Making sure you actually execute over your dream. So execution is a big thing for sure, which I want to talk about on this podcast. And so I'm talking about it in this point. A few questions on it to myself. How do you try to make sure you're action driven? So I think being action driven is super important. It's the biggest thing I personally think is the downfall for most people who try and start their own business. They do a lot of thinking, they do a lot of talking, but they don't do a lot of doing. They don't do a lot of action. They don't implement things that they talk about. That was something that right near the beginning, I think, was why I've delivered success, is because of every time I started, I thought of anything, I use Trello obsessively. Like my Trello board, I map out Monday to Sunday. I've got my week's goals, I've got my month's goals, and I've got my year's goals. And I check all of those every single morning. I have last week's achievements, and then I've got a now, next, and later to-do lists, which I take in and pull into the week. And that is unbelievably helpful, because I had this habit of, when you talk to someone, you say, oh, wouldn't it be a great idea to start a podcast, for example? Most people think of those great ideas and they don't do anything about it. So I have a habit, and it is one of the best habits I've ever instilled in myself, is I will instantly open up Trello or an email, and I will email myself, or I will post it on Trello to just say the idea, like start a podcast or whatever it is, and send that to yourself, because then I know I check my inbox perfectly nowadays. Like I will always get to an email, even if I get delayed by them and check them later. I will still always look at every single email. And so if I do that, I know that I'm going to action that, and I know I put it into my Trello board into the now, next, and later, and then that gets funneled into my action plan for each week, which I update every Saturday or Sunday. So every week I pull in new ideas from this. So this is this perfect kind of like, I always picture it as like a bucket going down, and I avoid ever losing ideas out of that bucket, holes in the bucket. I make sure that it's a perfect waterfall through to delivering and executing those ideas. So yeah, Trello is the big one, basically. Yeah. Top tips from your view on how to make a week productive. So yeah, Trello, 100%, map it out, repeat mapping it out. So you map your perfect week, you maybe do a second week ahead, which is your average template week, and then you update the one that you're in to be this week. So what are you going to do on Monday morning or Saturday or Sunday, but you need to make sure you do it every week. You map out this week ahead and you say, okay, Thursday I'm going away. So that normal template Thursday is not going to be the case. I'm just going away that day, but the template's there. And then you finish that week, and as you go through, you tick off with the green labels. You just tap one over it, and then there's a little shortcut for you, a little sneaky shortcut. And then that basically means that the next week is fresh still. So you finish the week, and you get to here and you say, okay, how did that week go? And you can put some stuff into achievements, which makes you feel good about yourself. Look at what you need to do, and you plan that week. And then you just repeat this process. So I'd say that's definitely one of the big ones. I think having goals definitely helps. So I'll have like daily goals, or just things like this. For example, this week was launch a podcast, reach out to at least 3 different people to be on the podcast. And then I'm also planning to launch or set up the new project, because I've got very much into web development, in particular Python and Django. And so I'm going to plan to finish the plan for the new project we're doing, which is building a new website and client base and client dashboard and all these new features and apps that I'm building. And a hashtag app is the other one I'm doing for this month. So I think goals would be a big part as well. And what about morning routines? So morning routines, very, very important. I read when I was 25 years old, one of the big pivotal moments was this girl rejected me. She picked another man over me. I was like overweight at the time. I was 17 stone, working in a career, drinking a lot, basically living for the moment. Was extremely unhappy though, realistically. I had that pivotal moment, and that moment, one of the things I did was I just said to myself, well, fuck you, personally. I shouted at myself, like, stop, change now. This is it. This is the last straw. And I read The Power of Habit, which is a spectacular book. I will post the link into the description for this video of that book, because it is one of my favorites, or it is my favorite. It changed my life. It was at the right moment too, where I had the right drive to use its lessons. And I just took the smallest things. So if I woke up in the morning and I brushed my teeth, and I brushed my teeth the exact same way, I made my bed perfectly, and then I just started to stack habits on top of that. And I still have that today. So this morning, I made my bed, brushed my teeth, I do my stretches. So I have a list of stretches I do each morning. And then I did a new one this morning. I add a walk on top of that. So I do a short kind of 2K walk or something like that. And then I come back and I start my day with my coffee and get into one of the first big jobs of the day, of the big task. So that's my morning routine. And they're very, very important. I think it starts the day right. You start the day making good decisions. The gym was always very early on in my day too. I've adjusted that slightly because I've got a bit more freedom in my day, but it's still an early part of my day for sure. Yeah. And the future, what about the future for you? What's some goals you've set for yourself for the months and years to come? So for this year, I wanted to go from 70k to 140k in revenue for my Nature Boys, or now the Snowball Creations business. So we made 70k last year. So it's something that is going to be harder because COVID meant that our business shrunk for a month, but it has now come back from that, and it's accelerating really, really fast, faster than it's ever accelerated before. So that's one thing. I just want to be able to, I said I want to become an effective web developer, and I have done that. I'm very proud to say over the last 3 months, I've got good enough that I'm now building and delivering apps for my business and for our clients, and above and beyond more WordPress and other kind of template websites I was doing before that. And I think I wanted to build better habits and relationships with food. So look at it more as fuel rather than a kind of relationship, emotional support. And then I think I want to get into a happy relationship for sure. That's something that I want to do, but I think that that's something that you can't really rush, and you just have to accept that it'll come when it comes and just be open to it. It's not an easy thing to figure out, and I've got very high standards. I've been single for most of my life, but I also I think it's very important that you do it right, and I think relationships are a pivotal, like a really big decision for your life, and you want to make sure that you're with someone you're gonna make them happy and you make them happy, and you improve each other and you grow with each other, and you live your best lives alongside each other rather than me taking away from her life or her taking away from my life equally. What are the biggest opportunities currently for the taking? Biggest opportunities. So for marketing, something that I do a lot of, I think TikTok definitely is going to be a big thing. I think Facebook ads, it's still just continuously improving. So if you're not doing paid Instagram, Facebook ads, it's just getting better and better. If you're in B2B, LinkedIn lead generation is mental. The market is flying upwards after COVID now because people are hungry. So we're driving such an exceptional amount of leads. Like one client we had was getting 100 leads per month, and those were really good leads for B2B sales. So it's really pretty exceptional. Everyone is getting better than they've ever had before, and we've updated the software quite a lot as well recently. And then I think bigger picture, just think of COVID. It's magnified attention to be really specific things. So it's much more specific, where it's like everybody needs gym home fitness wear. Everybody needs baking home bread equipment. So if you can figure your way of being in that random niche that someone's looking for, then you can grow your business 10x. It's always in these hard times is when some of the biggest new businesses come out the other side. That's what I like to think Snowball Creations would have done. So I think figure that out for yourself. Like my friend's company helps restaurants do deliveries and orders. So that is obviously going to do extremely well right now. So if you can figure that out for your business, always talk to me as well. I love to talk about that stuff. So put in the comments if you're or message me on Instagram. I'm Max Sinclair. I'm _Max_Sinclair, and I love to talk about that kind of stuff. And yeah, I think it's the magnifying glass is the best way to think of it. It's a really big opportunity for anyone. And very last question, which is for everyone, but this is a very nice thing for me to say to myself. How can people help you right now? So how can they help you to grow and expand and help you with your ideas and what your projects are? Thank you very much, Max, for asking. I would say please do just follow me along. So you can find me on Instagram mostly as I'm _Max_Sinclair. Go check my website out, snowballcreations.com. So snowball like the snowball, creations.com. And that business offers growth tools for ambitious businesses. Obviously, I'm interviewing myself right now, so please do subscribe to this podcast. Like even one subscriber makes me smile so much. I am giddy like a little kid when I see that number go up, one extra person, and please do also give me feedback because it's the very first one I've ever done. So I'd love to hear what you thought of this. Like who knows? This is me talking too much, obviously, because it's me myself. But as I interview other people, what do you think I should do in this? What questions should I ask? Who should I interview is a really big one, obviously. And I want to find more interesting people. Like everyone's going to say Elon Musk, but that's I'm working on that. But who else is there? Who in the UK or who in the US or who's someone that I've never heard of that you think is really exceptional, that has an amazing story that should be shared? And yeah, otherwise, yeah, please do subscribe. That's the main thing I'd love to have out of this. And yeah, cool. Well, thank you very much, Max, for the great interview. That was spectacular. This is the first ever podcast episode for the Ambitious Creators podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it, and there's many more to come. I'm going to try and aim to do one of these a week, possibly one every other week, and I'll be posting it to YouTube is the main way, so you can watch the videos, and then also I'll get it onto all of the other podcast channels. Please do enjoy it, and thank you for listening and watching.